My name is Joe Ikley. I work for Drs. Kirsten Wise and Bill Johnson, in the Department of Botany and Plant Pathology at Purdue University. I study the bacterium Clavibacter michiganensis subspecies nebraskaensis, which is the causal agent of Goss wilt of corn. Goss wilt was first discovered in 1969 in Nebraska and was problematic throughout the western corn belt throughout the 70s and the early 1980s. Only sporadic cases were reported then from the mid-1980s until about 2006. In 2006, the disease re-emerged in western Nebraska, and since then has been found across the entire corn belt and has now become an annual problem in Indiana. As a bacteria, we don't have any chemical control measurements. Fungicides are not effective on bacteria. This limits us to cultural control methods, these being crop rotation, tillage, planting of resistant hybrids of corn, and controlling alternative hosts of the disease. So we're hoping to reveal more about the importance of these alternative hosts, or more importantly, of controlling these alternative hosts. We have several different projects going to look at the role that alternative hosts play in the Goss wilt. To answer the question of what is an alternative host, we conducted a greenhouse experiment where we inoculated the plants with the bacterium and then rated them a week later to see if they had developed disease symptoms or not. And I also performed lab tests to see if controlling these alternative hosts can also control the bacteria. So we inoculated weed hosts, applied different herbicides and to control the weeds, and then determined if the bacteria then survived and was still pathogenic on corn. Another project we have going with herbicides is we are applying herbicides to corn infected with the bacterium to see if the herbicide application has any effect on disease severity, or another way to put it is, does this reduce or increase disease severity, and is there any reflection on yield? So they do play a big role. This is another incentive for farmers to control weeds. We typically tell them to control weeds for things like competition with crops for light or nutrients or water, but we don't typically think of other things like weeds being a host of a disease. So these experiments should hopefully shed some light on the importance of controlling weeds in the management of this disease. I like what I do because as an undergrad and as a master's student, I focused on weed science and more applied weed science. This project gives me the ability to learn plant pathology and also learn a lot of lab-based techniques that I would not be exposed to as a typical applied weed science student.